Hello and welcome to Kescast. I'm Joe and today I'm joined by
Isaac.
Aiden.
Oscar.
Marcel.
And today's episode is all about short stories. So Isaac, do you like short stories in general?
I very much like short stories.
And why would you say that is?
I like how they're not as long and there's not as much wasted information in them, so you can get straight to the point and there's more action conveyed in said story.
So would you say that you like the element of snapshot in a short story?
Yes.
And would you say that short stories are better because you have a shorter attention span?
Almost definitely.
Okay. Marcel, how do you feel about short stories?
I do like short stories.
That's good. Oscar, how do you feel about short stories?
I like short stories, but not as much as regular stories.
That's valid, you know. Do you just like the development? Do you like sort of the mystery element?
So in a longer story, I think there's more space to have other subplots, which I think makes stories more interesting.
So you like to say get your teeth sunk into something, so sort of have like a longer read that will keep you busy and sort of escape
Yeah.
into it. Aiden, how do
Absolutely.
you feel about the short stories?
I disagree with Oscar because
you?
with a short story, you can read it multiple times,
That is true.
so then you can understand more of what's going
You
on.
can read a regular story multiple times.
yeah,
But
I
that
suppose
takes
it's-
more time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they're
I
longer.
guess in the same amount of time you can read a short story
Yeah.
and gain more meaning from it.
So anyway, back to short stories. What are your favourite short stories of the ones that we've been reading in class, Isaac?
I would say either The Signalman or The Lottery.
And what do you like about those two?
I like how they both have an element of mystery to do them and uncertainty.
Would you say that mystery is one of your favourite genres?
I say that combined with action would be my favourite genre.
Interesting. Marcel, what about you? What are your two favourite short stories that we've read in class so far?
Lottery and Mother Savage.
What did you like about Mother Savage?
The twist at the end was very unexpected.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think my two favourite were Mother Savage and The Unexpected because I do quite like a twist in a story, especially when it's a big one, like there are in both of those stories. Because I think that a twist really adds an element of surprise, and I really like that. Oscar, what are your two favourite short stories of the ones you've done in class so far?
My two favourites were, I'd probably say, The Signalman and Mr. Loveday's Little Outing.
What did you like about Mr. Loveday's Little Outing?
What I quite liked about it is there's a lot of misleading information towards the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So, but upon further inspection, if you reread it, knowing what happens, you can understand all the clues that led up to that point.
Aiden, what are your two favourite short stories that we've done so far?
My two favourites were The Rocking Horse Winner and Mr. Loveday's Little Outing. Like
And why
Oscar.
did you like The Rocking Horse Winner?
It had a dark sexual element which is interesting to explore.
Oh, okay.
Was that in the short story?
Yes.
Yeah, do you not remember reading that one?
I
There
remember
was
reading,
the
I just
whole-
don't remember that bit.
Oh, okay.
What bit
So, sorry, what was the other one that you liked as well?
Mr. Loveday's Little Outing.
So that was a popular one. So, Oscar, do you want to explain the basic plot of Mr. Loveday's Little Outing for those who haven't read it?
So the basic premise of it is that there's a young girl and her father's been put in it's a mental asylum.
Yeah.
And when she visits him for the first time, she spots a nice little old man in there who's been cooped up there for, I think it's 30 years.
Yeah,
a long
I could see
time.
that.
So it's quite a long time. And
But since he's an old man in a short story, something's going to go wrong.
yeah,
That is usually the rule
yeah.
of thumb, to be honest.
So she notices that he's not acting like anybody else. He's acting quite normal. So and then she does quite a lot of research on it and finds a way that she can get him out because she thinks that he's not insane.
Mistake number one.
It may be useful to know this man is a convicted murderer.
Yes.
I believe he killed a woman on her bike, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he's changed, he's totally changed since then, it's all fine.
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong with letting somebody out of that asylum? Anyway, I mean, I can't really say too much about the end because that would kind of spoil the plot. But
I think we already spoiled the plot with all the
well,
stuff
yes,
we've been
but there's quite a dramatic twist at the end,
Yeah.
and it has a kind of deeper meaning about people can quite easily
Fool others.
fool others. Yeah.
Yeah, especially I think it speaks about mentally ill people in the way that the Mr. Loveday seems sane on the outside, and then what he does when he leaves for his little outing, as the title says.
Yeah.
I think that it's quite.
It's quite sinister.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
People can seem so normal on the outside, especially with things like mental illnesses such as depression. People can seem okay on the outside, but on the inside they can be really in pain.
Yeah. So another popular choice for a favourite story was The Signalman. Isaac, you chose The Signalman as one of your favourite stories. Would you care to explain a few of the plot details to us?
So in The Signalman, the narrator stumbles across a train platform where the signalman is standing, and he just travels down there and gets to know the signalman, and then eventually finds out about his past and how he ended up there. And I really like the plot because the twist with how he got there was quite interesting. And also I like the sense of uncertainty and like the unknown there.
Again, leading into that element of mystery that you say you quite like.
Yeah, and there's also a kind of sense of supernatural.
Yeah, exactly. That one was by.
That was by Charles Dickens.
Yeah, I thought so. Charles Dickens, quite a famous author, writer. So definitely recommend that one.
Yeah, that's a very good one.
One of my personal favourites was Mother Savage, however you want to pronounce
So
it.
bad.
I think that story is really interesting because the actions of the main character, Mother Savage herself, can be perceived in many different ways. And I think the way that you perceive her comments about how you see the world and how you are as a person. And I think that it's a really, really interesting story because everyone sees it differently. And I think that everyone brings something different to the table with that story, and I just think it's a really interesting one to use.
And I think developing on that, we only see her actions. We never see inside her mind. So we're only seeing the result of what's going on inside her head.
Kind of see inside her mind in the scene where she's cooking about it, but then she can't.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's
that's-
quite
yeah.
interesting that the author chose to do the story in third person rather than first.
Yes.
Because it again, with this element of mystery that seems to be quite common in short stories, we don't know what's going on inside her head. We don't really know why she did what she did. And I think that was absolutely a deliberate choice by the author to create an even further element.
So
of mystery.
only ever
I mean,
gives you an
we can
external point of view.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can come up with reasons why, but we can't.
We'll
we
never be
can't
100% sure.
Yeah, we.
We come up with
We can't
ideas and what we
specifically
think, but
Yeah. It's quite a good
So, what other stories were your favourites? Marcel, did you say you liked The Lottery?
Yes.
And what did you like about The Lottery?
The twist at the end was very difficult to see coming.
Mm.
Again, with the twist. So that seems like quite a prevalent thing in short stories. I think that probably due to the shortness of the story, you don't really see things coming because of the development and the twists.
Yeah, but then of course upon further reading you can realise that because it's a short story, every piece of detail, every sentence has its reason for being there.
Yeah, exactly. I think that rereading a short story is quite interesting,
Yes.
especially when you see the last, because you see the clues and the little things that the author has hidden in to give an indication of what will happen in the future. And I think that short
Absolutely.
stories are different to analyse than longer novels because, as you said, you can reread them and things start to slowly make more and more sense the more you go through. And sometimes I feel like you have to read a short story more than once to fully understand it. And I think that that's the beauty of them, is that you can reread them and find new things every time.
I think that's like a lot of things in the modern world. There's everything has a kind of surface meaning, but if you look at things more closely, you can find truth in unexpected
Like
places.
scratching beneath the surface.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and finding like a deeper meaning.
I think with a lot of short stories, especially The Lottery, the writer knows exactly what information to give you and what not to give you, to leave the reader wondering what could happen next.
Yeah, and I think that the key with short stories is that every word, every phrase, every piece of punctuation is really laid there on purpose and really thought through to build suspense, tension, or depends on the genre. The ones that we've spoken about are typically mysteries, because I think that mystery stories do make for an interesting short story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
of course, there's all genres of short stories. There's romance, there's fantasy, but
Comedy.
yeah, even that. I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, going back to a topic at the beginning, I just wanted to ask you, Joe. What was your opinion on short stories compared to longer stories?
I quite like both, to be honest. I don't have a personal preference. I think that short stories are nice to read sometimes, and I think that longer novels are nice to read sometimes.
I think
that we can all agree that both lengths are quite pleasurable, and that short stories are very much enjoyable. Would you agree with me, Isaac?
I would, yeah. I think personally, longer stories give you kind of more time to get lost in the plots, whereas the short stories, you kind of read it and then almost immediately you're done. But in longer stories, you can get lost in the plot. You can like almost imagine what the characters are feeling and what they're seeing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that short stories are very much enjoyable, and I think that overall they're good.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Kescast.
Adios!